All right, so let's talk about that second section of 4.3. So we're picking up where we left off with part 1, and this is called the Calvin cycle. This happens in the light-independent area of the chloroplast. So again, that's going to be the stroma, or the stroma rather, that fluid that surrounds the thylakoid membrane, the thylakoids. So this is light-independent reaction, and this is called the Calvin cycle. So what is happening here is that if we kind of pick it up from here, pick it up from like the 9 o'clock position over here, carbon dioxide molecules are going to enter into the cycle, and we're going to then add those carbons. The carbon from the carbon dioxide is going to be added to carbon that's already existing inside of this Calvin cycle. And that's going to be added to a 5-carbon molecule to make it a total of a 6-carbon molecule, right? So CO2 molecules are going to be added to the 5-carbon molecules that are already in the Calvin cycle, and that's going to cause a 6-carbon molecule to be formed. And that's what's happening over here in this like 9 o'clock position, if you looked at this like a clock. Okay? Up here, we have the 3-carbon molecules that are formed. And we needed energy for this process. So between 9 o'clock and 12 o'clock, we used some energy. We took ATP, and we broke off that extra phosphate, released some energy, and the result of that is that we have ADP, and then we have this energy that has entered into the cycle. Also, NADPH, that extra hydrogen has broken away, and we are left with NADP plus. Remember, that was a little bit of a polar molecule there. So in this position, we're like right around in here in the Calvin cycle. What's happening is there's been energy from that breakaway from the ATP and also from the NADPH. And that happened because enzymes were entered into the system here too. All right, so those 6-carbon molecules are being broken apart, and we end up with these 3-carbon molecules, right? So most of those 3-carbon molecules are going to stay within the Calvin cycle because this just keeps happening over and over again. This is a cycle. But one of the high-energy 3-carbon molecules are going to leave the cycle. So that's what's happening here. So it's broken apart. We're going to keep one of these 3-carbon molecules in the cycle so that this process can continue, and one is taking a hike. All right? So most of the 3-carbon molecules are going to stay in the Calvin cycle, but one of the high-energy 3-carbon molecules are going to leave. After 2 3-carbon molecules have left the cycle, they're going to bond together to build a 6-carbon sugar. All right? So this 3-carbon molecule is going to hang out here until the cycle happens again and it gets a friend. And then once it has 3 and it has a 3-carbon friend, it's going to form this 6-carbon molecule here, which is going to be a glucose that the plant can use. All right, and then down here, more like in the 5, 6 o'clock position, what's happening down here is that energy from ATP molecules are going to be used to change the 3-carbon molecules back into a 5-carbon molecule. So we've got this 3-carbon molecule that stayed in the cycle so that it could cycle through again. We're going to use some energy from ATP. Remember, that happens because one of those phosphate groups breaks off, adenosine triphosphate. So one of those phosphates break off, leaves us with adenosine diphosphate, and ATP, the extra P, the extra phosphate, when it's released, energy is released. So we have this 3-carbon molecule, we have the addition of this energy that happened here, and that's going to form then a 5-carbon molecule. The 5-carbon molecule stays inside of this Calvin cycle because, again, this just keeps happening over and over again. And these molecules are going to be added to the new CO2. So we're back to where we started. So we had a 5-carbon. We've got this 5-carbon now. CO2 is going to enter into the system, and this carbon is going to join this 5-carbon molecule to make a 6-carbon molecule. So these molecules are added to the new carbon dioxide molecules that enter into the cycle. And then this just continues over and over. Okay. So again, this is what's happening over here. 2 3-carbon molecules are going to bond to form a sugar. And we said one of these 3 carbons stays in the cycle, one of it goes outside of the cycle and waits on a friend. And then the two of them make the 6-carbon sugar. Just saying the same thing again here. And then that takes us to the end. Sorry that we had to break that into 2, but I can only record for 10 minutes at a time. Again, don't get upset if you're having a hard time understanding these. These concepts are not the easiest concepts to get. That's why we're doing it this way, where you're listening to these notes first, and then I can go over it in class and we can do some things with them to help you understand. All right, so just make sure you have the notes down so you can add information to it when you get to class. Thanks.